Howdy ho, everybody. I am Donuts. I'm here with my fiance.
Termites.
I have seen South Park of season 20-something.
I'm watching it blind.
This is, of course, a Black Lives Matter, All Cops Are Bastards, trans rights supporting channel. If you don't like that, get the fuck out of here. This is season 4, episode 14, Pip.
Pip.
Yep. Now, we've only done this once before with Timmy 2000, if you forget the 2000 part. So, what is your prediction for an episode that is titled Pip?
I think it's going to be a revenge episode. Like, Pip has been shit on time and time again. I think this is going to be the Pip comes back and he's super cool, or he's hanging out with the gangsters or something, and he comes back and he beats the shit out of the boys.
Alright, that's the prediction. Let's get into it. If you want to see the full length, check it out on the Patreon. Link is in the description below. It's $4 a month. What would you rate that episode?
I will give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay, I think I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
I can see it.
Cannot believe that, but I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I think everybody's probably gonna disagree with me.
Like, I will say, there aren't any, like, I'm giving it a 7 because, like, it wasn't wall-to-wall hilarity, but, like, everything it tried to do, it did very well. Like, every joke landed with me.
Yeah, and, I'm not really a fan of the Christmas episodes in South Park. The other holiday episodes I'm kind of into, but the Christmas episodes, I never really am. And those are always the ones where they are trying to do a real holiday special.
Yeah.
The other ones, it might be a holiday special, but they're not, like, trying for it to be one that they could imagine being on, a TV or whatever, but with a little twist.
Sure.
Like Mr. Hanky or whatever. I've just never really been a fan of those. But this one feels like that vibe. Like, it is retelling the Charles Dickens things, but even by its own self, even by its own merit as a parody of holiday stuff, or like holiday specials, and just like the classic old tale with a message at the end and everything, even if you take the Great Expectations out of it and you imagine it just being a parody of that in general, I think it works. Like, that structure,
sure.
Because again, the whole third act here definitely does not exist in the novel, for sure. And they speed through a lot of it, and everything. It really is its own entity at this point. And I do think I kind of now want to, at some point, read Great Expectations and then go back and compare them and everything. But I think by itself it worked amazingly. How did you feel about that?
I would definitely agree. Like, if they were to do this again, like, if they were going to keep on doing Masterpiece Theater as, like, a bit like Starvin' Marvin, I think it'd be really good.
Yeah. I think it's such a unique style. Like, it's unique while still being very close to the original style. Like, even something like the Terrence and Phillip episode was a bigger departure in style than this episode was.
Yeah.
But it was just enough to where it felt, very unique. And again, I'm not a fan of the unique episodes a lot of times. We're like trying out something really, it's like, that was not a good idea. But I get why, they have to do it to refill their creative urges a lot of times. And this was not even like I'm fine with them doing it. I know they have to do this from time to time. I went into this episode expecting it to be a 1 out of 10 for me. And I came out as a 9 out of 10. Especially the final act was hilarious to me. All the jokes there were killing me the entire time. And I didn't remember any of the third act at all.
Okay.
I remembered most of I didn't remember like the jokes or anything, but I remembered I remember like, this is the episode's retelling of Great Expectations, and I kind of remember like the general storyline that it goes on. But I completely forgot about the twist at the end there with the older guy. The whole second half of it, I just forgot. But yeah, just saying, it's so South Park for it to be like, this is the message. And now let's go kick their ass. The fucking robot monkeys. Did you ever, what is your relationship with like being a gentleman or doing like the proper, thing? Have you ever been in some sort of like expectation, having expectations put upon you like that? Having those great expectations.
Mostly like weddings and like super formal events and stuff.
Sure.
And yeah, it's definitely tricky. Like, especially like anything to do with dining and using multiple forks is the worst. Like any of that specific, like in this specific scenario, you gotta be super specific about it. Like I hate it.
Luckily, like I was on a cruise with my one of my grandmothers, which is so extremely rich, and I couldn't cut food. Like I cannot like hold a fork in one hand and then cut with the other. I just couldn't do it when I was like a young kid. I was like 13 or something.
Sure.
But still too old for that. But I just couldn't do it. So then they had to have like one of the or they didn't have to, but one of the like I don't know what they would be called. It wasn't a like chef or a server or anything. Just like someone that would just walk around and ask people if they needed more of something or whatever. But not like a server that brought out your dish. It was completely different. We had a different server from this person, so I don't know what they were. I don't know what the classification is. But either way, and he just like saw me and would just cut my food for me. And then he found me every time we ate dinner there. He would come over and cut. He'd be like, "Oh, there he is, to see him," and he would cut my damn food for me. At the time I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Now I'm a little more embarrassed. So looking back, I'm like, oh, that must have been so cringy. But at the time, I thought I wasn't even embarrassed of it at all the time. I was like, oh sweet, someone else gonna cut my food for me? Fuck yeah. This is why I like hanging out with rich people. Other than that, living with my step-grandmother, who was an awful bitch and would be like, at our own dinner table, like, oh, if your fork is not on the right side of your plate, and by right, I mean the correct side. I don't know what side it's supposed to be on, but your fork is not on the correct side of your plate, then I'm going to scream at you for 10 minutes and, shit like that. So I've definitely been on, that side of the, having, expectations as to, being a classic gentleman at a normal fucking eating dinner at the family table situation.
Yeah, that's...
And they were, very not well off. They were pretty lower class, whereas, like, my rich, grandmother was the one who was way more accepting of... I mean, she has her own shit with, like, rich prejudice, whatever, but as far as, like, the, formal eating, style, not a thing at all. Used to be. I will say used to be. Like, I used to get in trouble all the time for having my elbows on the table eating with them, but, that was, like, the most extreme it was, and they've completely relaxed on that.
Okay.
Since the last time, I've completely cut them out of my life entirely, so I haven't seen them for a long time, but...
Sure.
for the last times I had saw them. But yeah, do you have any, like, experience like that where, you felt like people were, looking down on you for, not being, like at the wedding and everything like that, I'm sure a wedding you go to being like, okay, well, I should know what... It's a very classy, usually, sort of event.
I'd say I'm usually pretty anal about that kind of thing. Like, if I know I'm going to a formal event, I will go insane and look up everything I possibly need to know.
Yeah. That's what I mean, something more like where, it was like a family dinner. That was not a formal event. There's nothing formal about this. We're all family, or like, my rich grandmother with the elbows on the table, anything like that, where it's like, not like, this is not the place or time, you know what I mean?
Honestly, no. Like,
I mean, that's good.
Yeah, like, I used to have this super, like, I guess I don't even know if he was wealthy or not. Like, he's now divorced from my aunt, but he was my uncle at one point. And he was, like, super anal with, extremely specific, rules on what to do in what part of the house. And for a while, like, when we went over, I just decided I don't know exactly how to do this, and I don't want to learn the rules through trial and error, so I'm just not going to eat.
Yeah.
So, I've managed to avoid that, more or less.
That's good. It's really good. Also, I think this episode is a good Pip episode. Like, it didn't need to be a revenge episode. Would have been nice. It would have been fun. But like, this was a nice way to have a Pip episode where you can, empathize with him and relate to him and like him as a character. Because even with Pip being shit on, it's a lot of times funny because Pip is not a good character.
Right.
And to be fair, I mean, they're kind of acknowledging it here, where it's like, Pip is literally a character from another series that we just put in South Park because we thought it would be funny to just put in this character from Great Expectations in South Park. And it's like, yeah, like his character is lazy. It was very not characterized very well,
Yeah.
or anything. And this really fleshed him out a lot more by nature of just being like, all right, a lot of people don't know Great Expectations, so let's show you the characterization that we knew about Pip, but you guys didn't.
Right.
Which is really, I think, needed,
Yeah, I'm honestly very curious to see if they bring back Pip within the main series, what they do with him. Like, if after this they decide to, like, go for a more, like, let's actually flesh him out as a character, or if they go back to just, he doesn't fit in South Park.
Yeah. And... yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting, like, on the ending message there of, like, what it means to be a gentleman is to be a gentle man, which is very, opposite to all the boys in South Park being super, like, they are, South Park is, again, we talk about a lot, it's such a perfect show for a small town in Colorado.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a amazing example of the boys being a product of their environment and all that, and just how shitty, and like even the good-hearted nature ones like Stan, can be shitty, terrible people.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. And yeah, I think Pip is a good example of being, of not like where a lot of times in a series you can be against a character because you're only looking at it from the perspective of the main characters, which are not supposed to be the characters that you are siding with mentally.
Sure.
If that makes sense. A lot of the jokes that the boys make is it's funny for kids because, they're like, aha, it's relatable. But then it's also funny for adults, as in you're like, oh my god, I did that same shit. I can't believe I did it. Like the Stan and Kyle putting their faces up against the glass, the old people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it also shows such a difference in our lifestyles. We're like, why are they doing this? And I'm like, oh, this is so funny to me because I've done this.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I have done it, and it's like, I can't believe I had, like, what was funny about that to me? And, that is the joke they make too, of just like, hey, what are you guys doing? Putting your faces up to the glass. Why? Because it's funny. It's like, there's no explanation there's no reason why it's funny. You just do it as a kid. But yeah, I think Pip is such a more adult character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always fascinated when media does that, where they immediately make you be like, oh, that character's such a lame person, I hate them, Pip is so stupid, whatever. And then, you get to this episode and you're like, I guess Pip is actually pretty stand-up dude. And it's actually I think this episode is a good example of being like, oh yeah, the boys are really shitty.
Yeah.
Like, all of them. A lot of times it's Cartman's the shitty one, but, because of how shitty Cartman is a lot of times, it makes the other ones look better, even though they're shitty too. South Park really is everybody in South Park is shitty. There's few people in South Park that are good, but that's also what makes it, such an amazing show. It's very realistic, I feel like. Anything else you want to say about this episode before I look up some notes or anything?
Did we do favorite jokes yet?
Yeah. What was your favorite joke?
Probably the metal newspaper.
Like, metal newspaper.
Yeah, that was good.
So small. I think mine was the first mention of the robot monkeys. I think that was it. Yeah. I can't believe that when she talked about the Genesis machine, we were immediately like, is this? And then not, we both were like, now I'm pretty sure, but. Apparently, it took this episode several months to make.
Wow.
They were making it across the whole season because of all the new assets and all the different animation and everything. It took them a long time.
Yeah, I can 100% believe it, especially for the backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
They were really good.
Also, when Pip first appeared, I really thought he was about to start singing, and then I was like, oh yeah, no, this is not one of the music episode. But it does definitely feel like he's about to start singing when he first appears here. And this was originally supposed to be a musical. But because of, like, they were doing it for months already, and then they were like, oh man, we're still not even done, so we got to scrap it being a musical. They changed a lot of it, And and just what the original idea was got changed a lot. But yeah, originally it was supposed to be a musical. I would have liked to see it as a musical because I think South Park musicals are fantastic, and we don't get many of them.
Yeah,
I feel like, especially not this early.
Definitely not this early. Yeah.
Like, we used to get episodes, like, we get songs playing all the time, but, like, musical episodes, last time we got that was Mr. Hanky's Christmas Classics, I think. I mean, like, aside from the movie, but, like...
I guess, the Thanksgiving special does count, right?
Which Thanksgiving special?
Helen Keller.
Well, I mean, was that
I guess it was, like,
it's a musical that already exists.
Sure.
We're singing songs that already exist,
Sure.
so does that count? I don't think so. Like, they have not said this themselves, but many people have said about the episode, like reviewing the episode, that the ending is a joke about contemporary Hollywood's inability to produce entertainment that does not depend on an idiotic spectacle. Which I would agree on a lot. That I would agree that is a problem with a lot of media where there is no need for a big fight finale,
Sure,
and yet we still have to have it. And it's what everybody says too. I think you experience that a lot with shonen manga.
Yeah.
Of everybody saying the line, but they have to have the big fight at the end of the arc. Like, that is the line that you hear every single day when you're talking about shonen manga, and really any, like, a Hollywood movie as well. Very, like, people talked about it all the time with the difference between One Punch Man season 1 ending and Mob Psycho season 1 ending, where it's like, it was such a huge talked about thing that an anime season ended where the final episode wasn't a big giant fight. And it's like, that was talked about forever, and so I definitely agree with that. Do you have anything to add on to?
I agree with the sentiment. I don't know if that was the statement of this episode.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the statement they were making, but I definitely think that's a interesting. I think the statement they were making was, this novel's ending is kind of lame. Like, they're like, why don't they fucking do anything about this?
Okay.
That's more what it felt like to me. Which it was making fun of, I think, to me, stories in general that end with a, my life was screwed over by this person, but I figured out my life was screwed over by this person, and I don't care. So it's fine now.
Okay.
And I think they were making fun of that.
Sure.
Like, Pip is not the kind of character who would say, I'm out of the situation, so I'm going to do nothing about it. He is very empathetic and wants to help people.
Right.
Yeah, but I at the same time, I agree with Death of the Author a lot. So I think, it doesn't matter what their intentions were. I think that reading of it is perfectly, fine. So, like, how do you feel about that, reading of it?
I do think it makes a lot of sense. Like, especially nowadays, I do find that a lot of movies that I really like a lot of action movies especially, are hampered by the need to do the final fight as opposed to some other form of climax.
Yeah.
Like, especially legitimately on a Hollywood budget, I feel like it's very easy to do, like, the big fight set piece or the big action set piece that, isn't even a fight. It is just a big thing happens. And then at the very end you go, well, we already did big thing happens, but now we do the human part, and then that's a natural place to, lead on to the ending.
Yeah.
Like, it allows you to have falling action that is also a resolution, as opposed to, you do the big final fight anyways, so it's still another climax, and then the falling action is, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we've talked. I don't think I have anything else to say about that. It is a problem. Also, again, with a thing that they haven't said, but, something that has been, reviewed a lot, said in reviews a lot, and looked about, with the setup of the whole episode in general, being the, like, there's this character Pip, he's based off this character, but you guys don't know that, so we're going to retell this story, this classic British story that is, lauded throughout the ages and everything like that, this, like, looking at British literature as, Americans looking at British literature as this, like, ancient holy text of, like, better, like, of highly intelligent, there's so much meaning in this, and then, the story is like they, crap all over it.
Yeah.
Make it like a parody of itself. But the specific quote I will say, a joke about America's, or more specifically the typical PBS viewers, haughty search for cultural enrichment in English classics. And also, like, based off the the cultural authority of the British so long courted by the American culture industries, which is definitely, you know, a thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Like, that is, you know, the reason why we have the term the Great American Novel comes from this idea of course, there isn't one. Like, you gotta do the first, because, of course, there's so many from Britain.
Yeah, it is the searching for the one American novel compared to the fatherland of 1,000 British ones.
Yeah.
And also, it ties very much into the American thing of we don't have to have the royalty, but we can still almost worship the royalty through media or, you know, online or whatever, like through the tabloids or what have you.
Yeah.
Like, that's a classic, you know, thing as well. So, yeah, I mean, you could say the same about British people as well with their own, you know, literature. Like, the amount of British people who are like, yeah, I'm completely against the, like, the Queen and, you know, having this, it doesn't make any sense to me. But at the same time, I will vote to keep it because I like it, it's cool. Oh, right, so, this episode is, Matt and Trey have said, probably one of the worst episodes of the series.
Really?
Yeah. Which is also one of the things I definitely remember the most about it, which is why I was expecting it to be 1 out of 10 going into this. But I think the reason why they say that is I think, you know, it is one of the least popular episodes of South Park as well in the community and everything. I had, you know, comments telling us not to watch this episode, which I promptly told them to fuck off. But yeah, with how unpopular this episode was and with how bad the reception was, not in terms of people, you know, being like, not in terms of like the Terrence and Phillip of like, fuck you guys for doing this, but in terms of just like, nobody really watched it or really said anything about it. I think that's what they mean. They're like, yeah, we shouldn't have done it because it just didn't have any, nobody even talked about it really, or, you know, I think that's more what they meant.
Okay.
Like, they might like it, but they think it's one of the worst episodes because it was clearly a big flop. And it's like, they recognize, like, if it flopped, it wasn't a good episode.
Okay.
At least that's where I think they were coming from it.
I think part of it might also just be the long schedule, like, with making it, the fact that they wanted it to be musical, then they didn't, and, like, a lot of this seems to be text from the novel, which makes me think that they might not even, like, think of it as something they wrote.
True. Like, they might be looking at it in terms of, like, it's a shadow of its former self.
Yeah.
Like, what they wanted to do with it. Potentially, yeah. Also, sorry, it was just Trey that actually said. Matt actually still says, well, at least as far as 2004, had said, like, that this episode he found was, and I quote, really cool, and I quote, really good. I don't know why they like quoting it like that. Like, they won't get the whole quote. It's just really cool and really good. But, so Matt at least still liked it.
Okay.
But, yeah. Apparently also most people did actually hate it, to be fair. I said the most were indifferent, but no. Apparently most did actually hate it. But okay, so they did later on, like, I guess their opinions just changed a lot over time, and so I remember the later stuff. In 2011, they both did put it amongst their worst thing. It was the 53 worst, and Pip was number 49.
Wow. Wait. Is number 1 the worst then?
So, okay, how does this work? Yeah. I'm interested. I don't know how this order works. They don't actually say. Like, they don't say which way is worse or not, but it does say, to be fair, that following Pip was the first 48 spots were every episode in the first 3 seasons.
Oh, wow.
Which, honestly, I would kind of agree with. A lot of people like the early seasons, and I think that's because they're edgy, you know? I think a lot of people like the early seasons are edgy. Honestly, I think the early seasons are not that great. I think, that's not true. I think half the people like them because they're edgy, and I think the other half people just like them for nostalgia, and I do too. I like going back to, like, season 1, and the, like, really shitty audio, and the really shitty animation. It's fun. But I certainly wouldn't want 20 seasons of fucking South Park like that.
Okay.
I do think I much prefer the later stuff. Maybe not the most recent stuff is my favorite. I think it's still good. But I would say, like, yeah, middle is, like, perfect. I don't think most people would agree. I think most people kind of forget that, and they only ever talk about old South Park or current South Park, and nobody really talks about, like, the middle, where, you know, for, like, fucking 18 seasons it was great. But yeah, I would agree. I think the first 3 seasons, season 4, a lot of great episodes. First 3 seasons, kind of rough.
Yeah.
And I think you've only seen season 4, so who's to say? But I think that's also to say you have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
As we've gotten comments to be like, man, for the next 10 seasons, it's like banger episodes, and it's like I don't know about that, but certainly got a long streak of good ones.
Mm.
So yeah, their takeaway, currently, or not like currently, but the last takeaway they have, for the episode was basically, we like the idea. Sometimes we just get a sudden urge to be like, I want to just do that. Like I want to tell that story. I want to do this episode in a unique way like that, or whatever. But one, if we have some unique idea, we have to have the main characters, or at least one of the main characters in it. We can't just have it be none of the main characters. Okay. It's similar to exactly what Toei has said about One Piece, pretty much. But if there's not one of the main 4 boys in it, people aren't going to watch it. They learned that with Terrence and Phillip. They learned that with this now, Pip. Yeah. So I mean, they said that way later though. To be fair, but they did say that was one of their takeaways in this episode, and that they liked the idea, but the novel kind of sucks, and the ending is really shitty. So overall, it's probably not a great idea. So that is their opinions on the novel. Actually, this is the first episode not to feature the boys in any way, because they were on the TV in Terrence and Phillip, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
So this actually is the first episode without the boys in any way.
Hmm.
Also, yeah, this is the first episode didn't have the disclaimer at the beginning. So, of course, all of this is perfectly fine to sue them over, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's an episode where Kenny doesn't die.
The disclaimer is so funny. It is, still around in current, South Park and everything. But, it is a thing that Comedy Central made them do, and they just kind of stick around with it because that is South Park now. Mm-hmm. It is part of the... But, yeah, it's such a... if anybody thinks that that's for legal reasons, it's absolutely not. It was a thing that, Comedy Central was scared about, so they made them do, and, it's just still around now because of style. That's it. Okay, that is all my notes for this episode. It's a long discussion for this one, but honestly, I'm surprised how good this episode was.
Yeah.
See you guys for the next one. Until then, get the fuck out of here.